Yo, what's up guys? It's Overjust over here coming at you with StarCraft II. Now, check this out. To the bottom left of Hecate, we have our red Terran player. Give it up for Elfigus. Is it Elfigus? Elfigus? And to the top, we have our blue Protoss being harassed by a Reaper. Give it up for Chestnut. So already this Reaper is going to get some damage done, but now that shield battery is finished, I don't expect to see another kill on this Reaper. Now, let's see what we have on the menu. So, I see a Reaper expand. The factory is just finishing, getting a reactor. Got the Marine out, going to help. I was going to say going to help against that adept, but if the Marine is not behind the supply depot already, there's not really much that it can do. So yeah, we have an adept just being a little bit annoying at the front. This is not a full wall just yet. We'll see how that completes, but Warp Gate has not started for our Protoss in the blue pajamas. Gonna continue microing at the front, however. We are gonna go for Phoenixes. Yeah, what I would like to see is Warp Gate getting started right after that Stargate, right? So, if you can't tell, this is a bit of a lower league game. Lower league versus the pros. This is still a diamond replay. So, these guys would probably smack up just about any of you watching, and that's fine. Now we got this Phoenix just going around in the main base, seeing what Elfigus has. Picking up a mule, gonna stop it from mining. You gotta send that mule back mining. Oh wow, just completely negating the entire mule. Oh, that's so sad. What a move from Chestnut. Definitely not a game-ending move, but such an annoying one. Got a second Phoenix coming out. Phoenixes don't really get dangerous until you have about 3 or 4 of them out, because that's whenever they get in a range of like 2-shotting workers. So these Phoenixes getting some scouting information and then sitting back to be on the lookout for drops, I think is the correct call. Now we got some Cyclones and a couple of Marines heading out, and we are going to see them put some aggression on this natural, and we are going to see how this gets held. Now, we do have a shield battery. How many gateways are we on? We are on 3 gateways, and we have a robo. We are getting Immortals out, but the Immortal is not here now, but that Terran army is. Battery overcharge being activated. Phoenix is picking up a Cyclone, but it's not going to do anything. Terran is not going to press the issue, but Protoss is going to push back, wait for that Immortal. Cyclones trying to lock onto things, but their kiting abilities in this new patch have dwindled just a little bit. Phoenixes are going to lift up those Cyclones. Stalkers and Immortal are going to push back that Terran army. And now, Protoss has defended. Now, that wasn't the cleanest defense. I believe we did see a Phoenix go down. We're going to see another Phoenix go down. No, it does not. Does turn and get the Phoenix and gets both Phoenixes. Wow. So all of the Phoenixes for our Protoss in the blue pajamas have gone down. Now that is not good. Phoenixes are an investment. They are a unit like mutas that you need to be very active on the map with. They need to continually get damage done, because if they're just chilling with your army, unless your opponent's going for a bunch of air units or a bunch of units that can't attack air, Phoenixes aren't going to be the greatest. And what we saw there was an investment that didn't pay out. That fight looked like it went very well for our Protoss, But if we look, things are almost even. Of course, it did go well for our Protoss, but if we didn't see those 3 Phoenixes going down, things would have looked a lot better. Scouting that Terran base. And going to lose another Phoenix. However, third base almost finished for our Protoss in blue. Meanwhile, third base is finished and floating over for our Terran in the red. Going to transfer these SCVs over. Could honestly transfer some more. A ton of Widow Mines set up at the front, and it looks like we're going to see some pressure moving out and about across the map. Now, I have no doubt that this Marine is on attack path to this base, and this Marine, yep, is checking this base. Okay, so a ton of Marines, a couple of Widow Mines, a Marauder, Vikings, okay. Where is that Protoss army? It is being fought. Widow Mines burrow at the bottom of the ramp. I don't like that. They could have moved forward just a little bit. Now we're going to have this Terran keep pushing up. Not going to get anything. And yeah, if these Widow Mines had been like right here or something, whenever Protoss was right here defending this ramp, those Widow Mines could have gone off. I think these Widow Mines were burrowed just a little bit too far back to get anything done. We see some Zealots harassing that third base, going to make sure that no SCVs are able to mine from there. Terran just going to walk by them with the with the army, and instead is going to lift up that third. Third base lands again and will be hacked away again by those Zealots, but Marines already on the way. Warp Prism gonna go into warp in mode. Now that probe was headed over to the 11 o'clock position to take a fourth base. Good for the Terran that got delayed. Now, are we going to see a fourth base be planted at the triangular position? Okay, so no reattempt so far to take it. We do see an armory for Terran, so Protoss cannot spot these Widow Mines, and Widow Mine has rearmed itself. Now, we see a medevac being loaded up with Widow Mines, and we see this army. Just moving southward. Gonna make sure that he's clear on all fronts before he abandons home. Widow Mines finally being found by the Observer, going to be picked off by a couple of Immortals. Rather, 4 Immortals. That's not a couple, that's a couple of couples. Now, we are going to see this fight being started by the Protoss, going to throw down some storms. Everybody's going to back away. However, we do see the Widow Mine drop inside of the main base. Going to get a ton of probes. That was great for our Terran. And from here, it just looks a little bit like it's falling apart for our Protoss. Going to get some damage done. But, oh, Terran actually turning away the entire army to deal with those Zealots. No, Terran, what you need to do is push. What you need to do is push. You can take a good fight here. Push the natural. There's only 1 shield battery. There are 3 shield batteries at the third. If you can push the natural, you can take control of those robos. That would be excellent for you. These Zealots are just a distraction. Immortals and Observer going to be cleaning away this minefield. Mine's going to be heading over to that 11 o'clock position, see what they can get done, but there are no probes mining here, so they can't really do anything. Now, Protoss is still behind in army. They are ahead in economy. They are mining more, and they have more workers. They have more bases. Terran looks like he's trying to take a 4th base. But honestly, Terran just needs to make things happen with this push here. But Protoss throwing down the storms. And that's what those Zealot run-bys were supposed to do. They were supposed to buy time for Protoss to get those Templar out, get the energy for those storms. And we're going to see this 4th base fall. But we're also going to see a lot of bio fall with it. Now, this is still looking great for Elfigus. He's going to be pressing the issue, going to pick off that Templar. I like that. Not letting much else die because of that. Good survivability on his units here. Now, we've got another Zealot run by at the triangular 3rd of our Terran player, just not letting up with the aggression. We are going to see more SCVs falling, and the entire army turning away once again. You have reinforcements. You have reinforcements. Don't turn away your entire army. No. No, you can win this, buddy. You can just outright win the game. Fourth base on the way for Chestnut. 3rd base reestablished for Elfigus. No 4th base on the way yet for our Terran player. He really needs to get a 4th base up. His main is practically mined out. His natural practically mined out. This 3rd base is his last full base. Honestly, he needs to get a worker and a few workers from his natural and just fully saturate that 3rd. Get that 4th base established. That's what I like to see. Now, we are going to see Terran once again play the aggressor. Protoss finishing up that base at the triangular location, and the 11 o'clock base also being taken at the same time. We see a recall happen at the triangular position. We got 2 Colossi, we got Storms, we've got Immortals, we've got Stalkers, we've got everything you need against a bio army. Now, I don't see any Vikings. We do have Ghosts, though. They are going to land some phenomenal EMPs on those Immortals. Barrier will not work on an Immortal that has been EMP'd. Now, we see 1 Colossus going down. Battery overcharge going to save the 2nd Colossus from falling. However, Viking is following the Colossus, and we see a Stalker going to take down that Viking. And now, for the first time in this game, the ball is in the court of Chestnut. We see Bio coming to the ramp for the defense. Now, we see the 4th base being lifted for our Terran player. This is great for our Protoss because throughout this entire game, Protoss has been ahead in mining. The longer that they can keep that going on, the harder it will be for Terran to replenish anything. So, Protoss just staying here, keeping this base lifted, is already dealing a ton of damage. Now, we see a ton of EMPs going off on that Protoss army. Also, storms being thrown down on that Terran army. Terran needs to be aggressive here in order to clear the space for that 4th base to land. And Protoss just needs to make sure that Terran isn't mining optimally, and then they will win. SCVs falling. Archon going down. And a recall happening. Looks like to the 11 o'clock base. Stalker on its last breath. Wow. 2 health, maybe 3 shields left. Now, we see Terran walking out on the map to be aggressive, but Protoss going right back into the triangular position of the Terran, pulling Terran's entire army out of position with the hopes that maybe they can get a counterattack done, and then destroying their hopes of taking this base. What a awesome maneuver by our Protoss player. And that honestly looks like all she wrote. Command center going to be canceled. And with no GG, actually, Chestnut is going to be our victor over Elfigus. Now, normally we don't do this. Normally we cover either a series of games or we will cover one game. But in this particular video, I would love to cover both of these games. Because as you can see, we have an SCV going right across the map from the very beginning. So to introduce our players, to the top left of Site Delta, we've got our red Terran player. It is Feared. And to the bottom right, we have our blue Protoss player. It is Chestnut. Now, that was an incredible previous game. It honestly looked like the Terran was going to win, but because Terran didn't know how to properly split his army to deal with the zealots that were back home and also push forward, he got held back a little bit too much, and his window to deal damage across the map closed. Now, Feared is not looking at all to let any window of time in which he can be aggressive go to waste, because he is proxying a barracks and a factory across the map. Probe is going to scout. In the games that I have seen Chestnut play, he is quite active with his probes, with his scouting. Need more Chestnut replays, because honestly, I'm a fan. Now, once again, we are going to see a Twilight. Once again, we are going to see that Warp Gate research is a little bit delayed. Going for the Twilight first, not getting Warp Gate immediately. But I get it. Whenever your opponent goes for a proxy, whenever there's a lot of pressure coming on your side of the map, sometimes it's easy to miss those little things. We are going to see the shield battery coming up before 3:30. 3:30 is the last second that you would want to get it, because that is around the time that Cyclones normally would be coming right up to punch you in the mouth. But here, I would understand getting the shield battery a little bit early, because these Cyclones have been proxied. We do see these Stalkers are going to pick off a Cyclone. And if he had moved this Stalker back some more, he would have been able to have two Stalkers here, because this Stalker was going to clean up that Marine anyway. Just a little bit of a micro mistake. But once again, we are in Diamond. These are not pro players. These are not grandmasters. What did you do, Mr. Stalker? Are you upset because you're shaped like a bean? You're gonna see another Cyclone poking his way down, going to get into a fist fight with this Stalker, but this Stalker Well, I was going to say this Stalker was only taking shield damage, but is going to be knocked down into the orange. Meanwhile, he's going to be finished off by another Stalker. Now, that Cyclone did get picked off. We are going to see a reactor being built by the factory. That's a little bit strange. I guess I can understand the decision, however, because it allows you to continually build Marines, and Marines do build faster than Cyclones. Now, we do have 2 Cyclones in production at the moment. The first Cyclone is going to pop out. He is about halfway finished, and then, since the reactor has been killed, only 1 Cyclone is being produced at a time, but our second Cyclone is going to start with a slight bit of that build time getting knocked off. And it looks like we are going to see the reactor being built on that barracks. Now, meanwhile at home, we see more Cyclones. Second base being taken by our Terran. And Protoss wants to poke out and get rid of that proxy. Now, Terran is going to switch his barracks and factory around, and Protoss is going to blink and be aggressive. I admire the defense here by Chestnut, but the control could be a little bit better. Should really get that immortal to the shield battery. Yeah, there we go. It's crazy to think that shield batteries used to exist in Brood War, but they were never used because they were not automatic. And how vital they are now just because they are. What a wonderful game StarCraft is. Now, Terran wants to continue being aggressive. He wants to continue poking around at the front, going to pick off that probe, going for the third base attempt. And Protoss is going to peek his head out of the door. He wants to defend that third. He wants to get that third out quickly. Now, this factory is still producing Cyclones. And Chestnut now has 3 Immortals out. And you cannot hold down this position. And yes, that factory does go down. Third base is about to be attempted again, probably. Yeah. And that's how you do it, buddy. Look at that. We got 5 Cyclones at the front. Now we're transitioning into a mech-based composition. Who'da thunk it? We were going for a ton of Cyclones. We are going to continue going for Cyclones. Now, I think it's important to get that Cyclones aren't overpowered. This new patch did not improve Cyclones. In fact, this new patch actually nerfed these guys. The main reason why we see Cyclones in such popularity is because now they're able to be built off of a reactor. But that did not make it a buff. Terran utility has been buffed because Widow Mines now unburrow faster and Cyclones can be reactored out of factories. But pound for pound, Terran is a little bit weaker now. And that was an attempt to turn the Cyclone from a specialist type of unit to a more general frontline brawler type of unit. like a Marine. Something that you can micro split back and deal kiting damage with, but something that'll also die rather quickly in a 1 versus 1 fight. Against a unit that is a tier 3 unit. It's a rather weak unit. Immortals take them out. Siege tanks are really good against them. And Immortals we do see, and a lot of them. We are going to go for our upgrades, as well as 2 Stargates. Now, seeing 2 Stargates at the same time makes me think of Void Rays. We are going to see what's going to happen there. We do see another Robo. So we are going to have 3 Robos, 2 Stargates. It appears to be 6 gateways, 7 gates. Okay. Zealot scouting that triangular 3rd base position. So yeah, if you are having trouble dealing with players going for a bunch of Cyclones, an easy way to deal with it is just by going blink and also getting a Robo out. If you're a bit on the lower side of the MMR scale, I would recommend you get the Robo first. But Robo first isn't that great against Hellions or Widow Mines, so it's a little bit of a riskier move. If you have the control, going for the Twilight first will be a better option for you. Now, this is a ton of Immortals, and we're going to see Tempests being made by our Stargates. Battery overcharge at the shield battery on the 3rd base. Now, these Immortals are surviving. This Robo might not, however. These Immortals are surviving, and these Immortals are the core damage behind this Protoss force. They are the spine of it. If these Immortals fall, so does the Protoss. Now, building a pylon at the Terran's triangular 3rd. It made me worry if we were going to see a late game cannon rush. Now, we do see Feared being pushed back, but these Immortals are a little bit out of position. We see 1, 2 Immortals falling to Hellions, Marines, and a Siege tank. Meanwhile, Zealots at that 3rd base location going to deal some damage. Getting SCV kills. Wow. 36 SCVs have gone down, and this number is only increasing. Now, we see Chestnut pushing the front. We have Stalkers, we have Immortals. This is already a very powerful composition against this type of mech composition. With the Tempests out, the Tempests are going to force out Thors, which would force out Disruptors, which would force out GG. But it was GG anyway, and Feared has left the game. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.